Hey everybody. So some of you may remember back in 2017, I had posted a video about much of my opinions and thoughts on how modern gaming is, these days. And that video I still stand strongly about today. If you'd like to watch it, I'll throw a link in the video description of it, and you can check it out for yourself, all right? Now, this video is going to be about, well, one thing I didn't cover in that video, and a couple of other things that I've learned about, and kind of an update of sorts, if you want to call it that, because, there were a couple of things, well, no, rather, there is one thing I did do um, in recent times that's kind of related to the video, I guess you could say. Now, I'm not going to repeat all the same points I made in that video because that's just going to make this video unbearably long. So, again, if you want to check out that video, you can watch it click the link in the description, okay? So, long story short, I guess you could say I was more of an active gamer during my teen years, okay? And I was a teenager from basically most of the 2000s because I turned 13 in 2001 and I turned 20 in 2008. So, it basically covers much of that span of time. And throughout the later parts of the years, my interest in gaming had just kind of gone down. Well, no, let me say it again. My interest in newer games had really gone down around that time, and afterwards, I was just so happy that I didn't buy a new game at all because of stuff you can see in the 2017 video. Basically, the way that game companies were operating now and how players would support those practices even though they were complaining about it. You know what I'm saying? So the first thing that you can say is, in a lot of parts of modern gaming these days, you have to pay extra for online service. Now, that started with Xbox Live, as far as I remember, and then originally neither Sony nor Nintendo did something like that, and then at some point they kind of jumped on the bandwagon, if you want to call it that. So when I first learned about that practice back in, it could be 2008 actually, when I first learned about that, I'm just like, hang on a second here. You're already paying an ISP, okay, X amount of dollars just to have internet every month. Now, in order to do these online games for certain services, you got to pay extra money for that? Insane, okay? Because, I remember when Nintendo rolled out their thing, probably a few years ago by this point, they had said something along the lines of like how, it's only $20 for a year. And I'm like, $20 for a year. Okay, for now. Because I admit, I don't know if it's changed since then, but the fact that you have to pay extra for online gaming, no, rather to play online, is ridiculous. All right? Because again, you're already paying this amount of money for your internet service in general, but now you got to pay extra to play the online service for those games. I don't care if it's only a penny for a year, okay? Ridiculous. Because, like I said, you're already paying this, you got to pay more. I'm not happy with that, all right? Now, granted, it doesn't affect me because I don't take part in it, but I just think it's ridiculous that, certain things require stuff like that. All right, so, now, admittedly, I think someone had said when it comes to gaming on the computers, the Macs and the PCs, they don't have anything like that. Okay, that's fine. But one of the things I did mention in the 2017 video was the whole DRM thing, and that affected certain computer games as well. And when I learned about that practice back in, again, 2008, it's like the magical year here, I learned about that and I was just like, you're kidding me, right? But no, it was totally real, and I'm like, that's going to be the worst practice I ever heard of. Okay, so, and that's another thing. When you have to pay these extras for these Xbox Live or whatever, what's the PlayStation thing? PSN or something? PlayStation Network, if it's still called that, that's the name that I can remember the most. And, I'm just thinking, like, when that service goes down, which probably will happen sometime in the future, what happens to those games? You're going to be able to play them? You know, I mean, if they have offline single players, okay, but like whether it's digital or physical copy, unless it has that, you're kind of in trouble if that goes down. So unbelievable. Now this next thing here, okay, I only learned about this um, approximately a month ago, I think, maybe a little bit more, but this has to do with gamer name characters, all right? Now, admittedly, one of my friends talked about this. She had said on her, I believe, Xbox 360, this affected. Now, Xbox 360 is obviously not the newest console these days. So I'm going to admit, I don't know if this practice still holds true today, okay? But just the fact that it existed in the first place is what got me like riled up. Not, that much, but I'm just something I couldn't believe. So what I have to do here is let me just pull up an email here, or not an email rather, well actually no, it is an email. What am I saying? There was this chat log that I had that I copied and pasted when I read about it, and I was just like, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard of. Where is it? Okay, so it starts like this. She says here that apparently the limit for a gamer tag is now 12 characters with spaces included instead of 15 on instead of 15 on Xbox. Okay, character limits. All right, that happens sometimes. But this next part right here is the kicker. It says, I am not about to pay 15 bucks on my 360 to bypass the 12 character limit. You have to pay money for a character limit bypass? Are you serious? And I said that's unbelievable, and then she replied with, 360 had a pay-to-change system because your gamer tag was your account ID. Okay, I don't find that to be any excuse, all right? Because back in my teen years, the very first time I registered on a forum, okay, you could say technology was older at the time, but still, hear me out. When you registered with a username on there, that username you were fixed to. The only way, there really was no way to change it. You would have to register for a new account if you wanted to change that registered name, okay? But they did give you the option of a display name, and basically the display name was what people saw your name as every time you posted, well, a post, they could see what your name said. So they did give you that option. But, meanwhile, registering for these forum accounts, they cost you nothing. All you needed was a valid email address, and just that, a valid email address. And what was it here? Some forums actually did let you change their name. Again, it depends on the way the website is set up, the way the system is. Because I know for some systems, your account ID is basically everything that you are, and like if you were to change that, it would like change everything, for lack of a better term. I'm talking more of lack of further knowledge on that, but lots of stuff I've heard over the years. That's kind of how it applied, and so I can kind of understand that. So you get the point on that. So the rest of it says here, 3, okay. She said, you got one free change on there, and I used it years ago. And a little addendum here. They also got rid of the 12-month gold subscription, redeem code cards included. So now I might have to refresh everything 4 times a year instead of once a year. That's just ridiculous. All right? So in order to have more characters on your name, or just to change your name, you got to pay money. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. All right? Back when I was a teen, stuff like this didn't exist. You wanted to change your name? You wanted to make changes to your account and this and that? Okay, have at it. Most of the time, for security reasons, they would have you put your password in just to be sure you're making these changes. And that's fine, I mean, it's your responsibility to make sure you know your password, which I'm totally okay with. And, didn't cost you a penny to do any of that stuff. So now when you want to change your name or add more characters, you got to pay money. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard of. So, and I'll give you 2 examples of games that had character limits that changed. One, and they're both made by ID or id, whatever they're called, I'm not sure. One what was it? There was Quake 3 Arena, and there was Return to Castle Wolfenstein. Um, what was it? Return to Castle Wolfenstein naturally had more characters available for a name, either because the game was newer, or maybe because maybe players had reached out to them and said, "Hey, could we get more characters for our name?" And you know, anytime you want to change that name, totally fine. And there may not be an account per se, but the games the way they were back when was any updates, mods, player models, custom, let me say custom physics mods, I should say, that didn't cost you a thing. As long as you paid for the game itself, everything after that was free of charge. It's amazing how the times have changed. It really is. Um, and then I make a comment here about how that's what I mean. The fact that you have to pay extra for any of this is just insane. Never used to be like that with gaming back when. You paid for your ISP and that was it, basically. Or I was a teenager, so my folks paid for it, obviously. Um, and then the other, there's another guy down here who says this doesn't exist for the PCs. Okay, I gotta get that. And then the last thing she said here was, you get unlimited changes on Xbox One now. Okay, there, I just answered one of my own questions. The problem is they reduced it to 12 characters with spaces included because instead of telling you a tag is already taken and making you be creative and unique with your Xbox gamer tag, they let you have it and then tag on 4 numbers like the Discord usernames. Yeah, I know the Discord usernames, they have 4 numbers at the end of your name to tell you apart from someone else who may have a different name from you. That part I can understand because, compared to the early 2000s, there's probably tons more people on the internet now that have usernames, and instead of you saying this username is already taken, they put numbers to tell the people apart. That's fine. That part I can understand, but of course, it doesn't cost you a penny for any of that. Okay, so she did answer the one question I said earlier where you get unlimited changes now, but I'm willing to bet they did that because of backlash. You know what I'm saying? The fact that they even thought that was a good idea to start with was just ridiculous. It's unbelievable the stuff that people came up with, or these companies came up with. But the worst part is people probably kept paying for it, so that's why they kept doing it. I mean, why would a company change if they're still getting their money? So I can kind of see that regard too. Oh, just crazy, the stuff like this, all right? So you get my basic points on that, all right? Now, there's a couple of other things that I want to talk about that kind of go off to the side here, okay? Um, so in either August or September of last year, I did something new. I bought a new game. Believe that? Now, I will admit, this was a newer game because it was released in 2016, and I didn't buy it until last year because some of you may remember in December of 2018, I bought this newer iMac, which obviously could handle the game much better, or even just compatible with the hardware now compared to the 2009 iMac. And, I thought about it, and I was like, you know what, this company is known for being good. Let's give it a try. You know what the heck? So the game I bought was Abduction by Cyan. As you know, Cyan made the Myst series, and I am a huge fan of the Myst series, even today. This company has really been known for very good practices, okay? Now, I don't really consider this a newer game per se, because the game I'm about to mention here, because I'm already a huge fan of the Myst series. In early 2014, I did get the Real Myst Masterpiece Edition. I don't count that as much as a newer game, only because it's just a remake of the original game, or I should say the 3D remake from 2000. So, you're not really expecting anything much newer because it's a game you've already played before. You know basically how it works, okay? Now, I tested the Masterpiece Edition of Real Myst to see how it would work. After I downloaded it on my laptop initially, which you can see right below the traffic light, I did a test first. I disconnected the laptop from the internet and clicked on the game. It opened up and you can play it no problem. No internet connection required. Then on the 2009 iMac, I went to the App Store and guess what? Even though I'm on a different piece of hardware, it had on record that I purchased the game already, so I could download it onto this hardware for no extra cost. That is good. That is a good way of doing business. You know what I'm saying? It says, "Oh, on your account, there's a record here. You already bought it. Okay, here you go. Put it on this piece of hardware." Amazing, isn't it? It's great when when people do stuff like that. The same thing applies to abduction. I put it on this new iMac. Again, I unplugged the Ethernet cable, clicked on the game, started up, no problem. Could play it as much as you want. And like I said, this game was about 3 years old by the time I bought it, or just shy of it. And it was good because, like, normally when a game has been out for a while, they can fix bugs, maybe have some extra areas, which did happen in this game actually, compared to the Let's Plays I saw. And let's see what I say, and also a reduced price. I bought Abduction for about I'm gonna say maybe $25. I don't know if that was its initial cost, but that's really not bad, honestly. So I bought that game, and maybe that's probably a good thing about digital distribution. Now I'm not here to compare digital and physical distribution. Okay, that's another story for another time, or you guys should just talk about that yourselves, honestly. But, is the fact that even though I hadn't bought the game yet, I waited a while, bugs were fixed, things were added, reduced price, not a bad deal. And in case you're curious about what I thought of the game, it was okay. I enjoyed it. I felt like it was lacking in some parts. I think it could have had a little bit more to it. Now, some of the puzzles, Myst is known for, let me close this thing here. Here we go. Myst is known for their puzzles in the games. Some of the puzzles in this game, though, some weren't hard, but they took a while, and some were just, one puzzle took me like 2 days to figure out how to work with, and it was one puzzle that's known for a lot of people gave up with the game. I didn't give up, but I figured it out eventually. And another thing I wanted to mention here, actually, quickly. This video is pretty long, okay. As you know, I'm a huge fan of Return to Castle Wolfenstein, and not too long ago, my brother found IO Wolf, which is basically Return to Castle Wolfenstein for the Mac computers. They were with the PowerPC processor. Obviously, when Apple switched to Intel, that wasn't going to work. On 10.6, they did have a thing called Rosetta, which allowed compatibility with PowerPC applications. But when they went to 10.7, that went away. So my brother found this thing called IO Wolf, which is kind of like IO Quake. And basically, it's where someone, I don't know the exact terms here, picked up the game, made it compatible with the Intel processor, and for the first time in probably 10 plus years, I was playing the game again. And it was, well, no, it wasn't 10 plus years. Let's say 5 or 6 years, okay? I was playing the game again, and on the newer iMac, I had the graphics all the way up. I'm not the biggest obsessive guy with graphics, but it was cool to have them up, and all the skills I learned from over the years of playing Marathon and things like that. The game was so much easier than it's ever been, and it was a blast to play that game like that again. Okay, that's one of the things I like is when someone's able to pick up the game, make it compatible with newer processors, and you can play it again. I love stuff like that. And basically, guys, you know what? That's everything. This video has gone on long enough, okay? Like I said, some companies out there do still do decent things these days with modern games, like Cyan does, and I'm very happy about that. But just the fact that they're making all these pay-for options for name changes and character increases, like, even if that practice isn't even done today, that's just so ridiculous, Like, I get it, a business... whether or not a business, regardless of whether or not they're considered greedy by society, is to make money. And if they don't make money, they're going to have problems. But the practices they go about it of just how they make money is ridiculous. So, there was a newer game I bought. It was good. But in terms of modern gaming, I still don't follow it much. And honestly, there's much better things I can do with my time. YouTube exists. I can make videos, watch videos. I have friends to hang out with. You get the idea. So modern gaming, did a couple things, but still not a fan of it. And honestly, I'm very much okay with that. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching, and take care.